Okay, looking at Buddhism and India's empires. So a look at Buddhism. Began in India around 500 BC with Siddhartha Gautama, and he lived his youth in comfort. He was actually a prince, comfort and luxury. As a wealthy prince in Nepal, one day he looked beyond the palace walls and was shocked by all the human suffering he saw around him. This prompted him to leave his life of wealth, his wife and his 2 children, and then he set out on this journey to find the truth. So after 6 years of searching, he realized in a flash, of insight, that all of suffering was caused by selfish human desire. So we suffer because we want things, material things. To end the suffering, a person must come to accept the world as it is and to block out his or her own selfish desires. So Gautama became known as the Buddha or enlightened one. So he's really the first Buddha. So basic philosophy, self-denial, which means you don't have any material things, and meditation and reincarnation. So gods and holy books, they don't, it's not that they don't say there's a supreme being, they don't really dwell on it. So no single supreme being or God, there's no primary holy book, and their basic beliefs are found in books called sutras. The biggest part is probably the Four Noble Truths. This explains the meaning of life. So this is what he realized. So pain and suffering is caused by human desires, such as a desire for material wealth and selfish pleasures. Only by giving up wrongful desires can a person find peace and harmony. And you do this by the Eightfold Path. So to give up selfish human desires, Buddhists believe one should follow this path. You should have the right goals, have the right perspective, be aware, act in a worthy manner, speak truthfully, live righteously, and respect all living things, and to meditate. So if you are able to do all these things, then you reach nirvana. By following the Eightfold Path, an individual can escape the soul's endless reincarnation and achieve nirvana. And this is a state of eternal bliss and peace. So it's similar to heaven, but it's a little bit different. You can actually reach nirvana while you're still on earth. So that's the main goal. So here's the Eightfold Path, and here's Siddhartha Gautama with the insight eventually that it told him that to end pain and suffering, you must give up all your selfish desires. This is a good example of what they give up. This is really their only possessions. They'll have their robe, their Buddhist beads, and then their bowl that they use to eat with. So this is their self-denial. Here is the leader of Buddhism, the Dalai Lama, and then here's some symbols which we already saw in Hinduism. We saw this symbol here. This is a lotus flower. This is the Buddha of abundance. So there's different Buddhas that reach enlightenment but stay on earth to help others reach enlightenment. The wheel, because what you do is going to come back to you. So the wheel of life. Here's a good picture of another Buddha. I think this is Siddhartha here, and this might also be Siddhartha. So the spread of Buddhism, how it spread. Buddhism quickly spread. Missionaries took Buddhism throughout India first, and then it spread southwards down into northern India, into Sri Lanka, into Burma, Thailand, Indochina, which is everything below China, and then eventually into Southeast Asian countries. It moved northwards into the Himalayan kingdoms like Bhutan and Nepal, eventually in Tibet, where it's kind of the home of Buddhism. It's really its own form of Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism. Into Mongolia, into other parts of Central Asia. Buddhism also spread into China along the Silk Road, into Korea, and into Japan. And it was popular among the groups that wanted to reject the Hindu caste system. So they didn't want to be set in a certain place in life, so the Buddhists rejected the caste system. So how was the hereditary caste system closely connected to Hindu beliefs in reincarnation? So with the caste system, remember the Hindus believe that if you did good deeds, you went up in the caste system. You did bad deeds, you went down in the caste system when you were reincarnated. So this is where Buddhism's going to start. Here's the birthplace of Siddhartha Gautama, and eventually spreads south. Okay, goes across the Ganges, the Indus River, up into places in Afghanistan, spreads across into China. Once it's in China, that's where it goes through Korea and then into Japan and then all the way down into Southeast Asia. So the main ideas of Buddhism are summarized in the Four Noble Truths. So all life is suffering. Suffering is caused by our cravings, things that we want, material things, money, cars, things like that. Suffering can only be stopped if we end our craving. And only a careful, disciplined, and moral life, such as a life of concentration, meditation, can we end our cravings. So we have to follow the Eightfold Path. So according to the Four Noble Truths, how can we end suffering? Really to give up your craving, your desires for things. So the Mauryan Empire. So after Alexander the Great invaded northwest India, remember he dies and quickly falls apart and his army ends up leaving India. You have these greatest Hindu empires that had come around into India by that time. So King Chandragupta challenged the Greeks and he established his own powerful Mauryan Empire inside India, which stretched from Afghanistan to the Ganges. So you can see this area here. All right, his son Asoka, who really one of the different leaders that you're going to hear about in history, was the next great ruler. And Asoka fought a series of wars to enlarge his empire. He was seen as this extremely violent, angry emperor. And but then after 8 years, he just gets tired of it. So he grew horrified by the bloodshed that he had seen in battle. He renounces violence and he converts to Buddhism. So it changes everything. Asoka decided to win his people's loyalty by acts of kindness instead of being, cruel, and promoting their welfare and their happiness. He decreed that people of all religions should live peacefully with one another. He improved roads, built hospitals. He sent teachers throughout the empire to encourage the education of Buddhism. And to promote Buddhism, he built shrines throughout India, and he sent missionaries into other lands. So that's how it spread so much. After Asoka's death, the Mauryan Empire soon falls apart. And here's a picture of Asoka right here, and then this is Buddha. So how did the Buddhist belief affect the policies of the King Asoka? He's going to eventually completely change from this violent, warlike ruler into this peaceful ruler that actually wanted the best for his people. And then what were some of the important contributions to the Gupta Empire? That's the one we're going to get to next. So the Gupta Empire, in 320 AD, a new ruling family, the Gupta, emerged. And Gupta Empire, this is after Asoka dies and his empire falls apart. Gupta emperors encouraged peace, prosperity, and trades with foreign lands, especially with China, which is going to bring in influence from China and influence China also. So the 2 centuries of Gupta rule are sometimes referred to as the golden age of Hindu culture. You're going to hear that on every culture. So Gupta emperors built universities. They supported learning, the arts and literature. Gupta artists painted colorful murals while writers composed poems, and they did plays written in Sanskrit. So this is why it's the golden age. So Gupta achievements, here was that question we just had. So in math, they came up with the concept of zero, just like the Aztecs. They came up with the concept of infinity, the decimal system, Arabic numerals, and Arabic numbers are what we use today. In astronomy, they came up with the idea that the Earth was not flat and that it rotated on its own axis and that it had its own solar year, so that it made a trip around the sun. Medicine, they were able to set bones. They were able to perform minor skin grafts. That's where you take good skin and you actually cover bad areas of burns and things like that with the good skin, and it'll actually grow. This prosperous period drew to a close around 500 AD when the Huns, a group, come out of Central Asia, and the Huns, when there's a drought or something like that, the Huns will come down into the south, and they pretty much just wipe out any group that they run into. And here's some Gupta buildings, and it's almost the same area as what we talked about with the Mauryans, maybe a little bit bigger.